Hey everybody, Ryan Michael Galloway here with WeDon'tNeedNoStinkingRecordCompany.com, and I'm here with Madalyn Sklar down in Houston with MadalynSklar.com. She is the indie music coach. I think if she doesn't own that phrase 100%, she was the first as far as I'm concerned. And now Madalyn, we've talked a lot about social networking, and you are a social networking expert, and I have got a lot of expertise in that area as well. And I have always felt like the power of musicians in community was really a big deal, and then we got to move all that online and put it on steroids. And you've been doing something called GoGirls.com for, well, Go Girls as a concept in general, and then GoGirls.com for quite some time. I want you, if you would, to tell us about that community that you started, and how long it's been going on around, how long it's been around, and if you got any little backstories about it or interesting things about how it was powerful for the people who've been part of it.
Yeah, definitely, Ryan. It is GoGirlsMusic.com, and we've been around since January of 1996, so over 14 years.
Wow.
We've been out on the internet, very high profile and visible, all about promoting, supporting, and empowering indie women in music. And it is real interesting how I started this because, like I said before, I am a techie in the music business. And when the internet was new, before most people I knew had even heard of it, I really saw the potential of what we could do with it. And I started thinking about how I could use this to reach out to other female musicians, because I myself was a musician at the time. And going through the struggles of being a female in the music business, I thought it would be great to connect with other women musicians to see if they're going through the same things I'm going through. And so I launched the website. And again, this is before .coms were really popular, before most people had heard of what a .com was. And I just really felt like this would be a great way to start a community. And here we are over 14 years later. I didn't even realize what I was doing at the time was starting a social network because there was no name for it back then.
Well, you told me a story when we were kind of preparing for this, and I just want to remind you about it, and I would like you to tell it. Something about you putting a question out there about what's your favorite social network. What surprised you about one of the answers you got off of that?
Yeah, it was so interesting because about a year ago I put out, hey, what's your favorite social network and why? And we're getting the responses like Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And one of our members of the Go Girls community said, well, Go Girls. And it just never really dawned on me of Go Girls being a social network as what we think of today as social networks, but really what started over 14 years ago was a social network that has grown and built up to become this great community of musicians that we see today.
I'm hitting you a little from left field without having given you a chance to prepare for this, but can you think of any particular instances, or maybe just situationally, what kind of things does the community help the members do other than just be able to converse with each other?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's all about knowing you're not alone in the music business. I think a lot of musicians feel like they're the only ones that go through certain things, from being a musician, whether it's touring, recording, whatever it is, that, not knowing if other people are going through the same struggles and issues, and more so for women, because with women in the music business, sometimes you're dealing with people who are not appreciative of your creativity or are trying to make things difficult for you being a woman or whatever, having stalker issues. It seems like more women musicians have the stalker issues.
Yeah, it's not just women.
so just being able to have a place where other musicians can come together and say, hey, I've had that, and here's how I dealt with it. I think that's been the most powerful thing, because one of the things we did early on with Go Girls is I established a Yahoo discussion group, and that was when Yahoo had first come out with those discussion groups, which are very popular now.
Yeah.
This was back in the late 90s, and it's still very active today, and a lot of our members will post things out there such as, hey, I'm going through this problem. Does anybody have some insight for me? Or, hey, I just recorded my first album, and I don't know where I should take it to get manufactured. So it's all about getting that community support and knowing you're not alone with these things.
You know, that's interesting. There's really only 5 things that I know a business can do with social networking. You can talk at people. You can. The second one is you can converse with people. The third one is you can use it to build a cult. The fourth is you can use it to create a support group, and it's usually like a user group around a piece of software. I never thought about it in terms of a community around an industry, like being, women in music, for instance. And of course, the fifth one is getting people to help you develop your own or your next product or service, which is kind of cool too. But I never thought about the fact that support group could be applicable to a lot of musicians in this regard. So that's perfect. Well, awesome. Let's so folks and guys, even you check out gogirlsmusic.com, because I think there's some things you can learn about community and how powerful it is. But certainly I'd love the listeners to go out and check that out. And I am with Madalyn Sklar from MadalynSklar.com, indie music coach, the indie music coach as far as I'm concerned. And I am Ryan Michael Galloway with We Don't Need No Stinking Record Company.com.